Hello everyone, this is Jean-Louis from Atlas. This video is an intro overview of the Atlas console timing system. The URL to get here is console.atlaslifetiming.com. You should have a username and a password. Let's go ahead and log in. So when I log in, first thing I land on is the homepage. Homepage contains upcoming events, which is events in the future, past events, these are all my events which have happened in the past. At the top here, you got standard or professional. Now, most people will not have one of these two options, but depends on the type of customer that you are. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to stick with standard. Top right hand side, we've got profile. This is where you can add an image, photo, whatever. And on the top left hand side, we have our main menu with our homepage. Devices page, we're not going to go into that in this video. And then categories, again, we're not going to go into that in this video. There are separate videos to show you what these two things do. Let's go back to our homepage. All right, to create our event, we're going to click on New Event. Now, let's call this one our marathon. Let's call it a demo marathon. So we're going to say it's happening next weekend. Sport, we're going to choose running. Go ahead and save that. We're now in the event setup page. Now I know this because I've got my three main elements here. We got the races, timing, entries. Timing and entries are grayed out still because we don't have any races yet. And up here, I've got my event page, which is called Demo Marathon. Now, it's important to understand that all events are an umbrella term for one or more races within the event. For example, the London Marathon has several races, including the 42K, 10K, maybe a fun run, and 5K, etc. For the purposes of this demo, we only have one race. We're going to call it our 42K. Now, date and time already selected. We can choose a different time here if we wish. Single start means a mass start, essentially, i.e. not a wave start, which is the case for most races. And in selecting category, now all accounts will have a default categories. The simplest form of event is by gender only, which means that everyone will be ranked together, but they will also be sub-ranked by gender. So that's what I'm going to save here. I'm then able to create my timing and also to upload my entries. So let me take you up to the top left menu, the drop down here. Dashboard is where we're at right now. Timing is where I set up my timing, and entries is where I set up my entries. So that's the three main bits for the event setup. And then when I'm ready for the actual race day, I will come down here to race day. So let's start and take these things in order. Timing. So in order to create timing, the first thing I have to do is create my timing points. So remember, this race is the 42K. So I'll probably have a split timing point at the half marathon. So let's call it let's call it half marathon. Let's call it half split. And then we're going to create our finish line. So this means I'm going to get timing from both the half split and the finish line. Let's save that. Now on the left-hand side, you're going to see settings. Most of the time, you don't need to touch these settings. There's a separate video to take you through the settings of this and also the settings of the timing splits. But for most cases, you don't really need to go into the settings. Now that we've created our timing points, it's time to do our timing splits. This is the actual setup of the race. So you can imagine they will go from the start through the half point split onto the finish line. So I'm going to save that here. Now I've got a handy graphic up at the top here, which kind of shows you the flow of the race. You're going from the start to the half split to the finish. It's important to note that even if the entries don't go through the half split, it doesn't matter. As long as they go through the finish line, they'll still get a time and a ranking. We have now completed the timing setup. Let's go to entries. So in entries, the simplest way to get entries into the system is to upload them here. Now, you need to upload them via a CSV file. You can download the template CSV. We're going to open that up here just to give you a sense of what that looks like. This is the template here. Now you have to keep the columns as they are here. You don't have to fill all the information in. You can select which columns you want to fill information in, but the column headers must be exactly the same and they must be in the same order. All right, let's go ahead and upload a file that I've already created. So that's been uploaded. Let's refresh the page. And here I have all my entries which have been uploaded. They've all been assigned to the 42K race. Everything's looking good. You can search here. So for example, if I start searching like this, then it will bring this up. You can search via gender as well. Please note you can add extra genders. There is a separate video to show you how to do that. If you need to edit any of the entries, let's say the name is spelled wrong, then what I would do here is click on here. I would edit the entry button. I would rectify whatever needs to be rectified, save that, and as you can see, the name's been changed. Entries have now been uploaded, so everything is ready for race day. So let's assume that you come back on race day. So very likely when you come onto the website, you would come back to this page here, which is the home page. So we find the race we're interested in, Demo Marathon, and we're going to go straight to race day. So in race day dashboard, as we call it, we have a bunch of tabs up here. Now, I'm going to take you through these tabs one by one very quickly, and then we're going to start the race, and we're going to see what it actually looks like when we're going through a race. We're going to do this very quick, though. So next, times tab. Times only come up here when they go through, when the entries go through timing points, so nothing here yet. Ditto for leaderboard, and the same thing for results. However, in entries, we can see that we have our entries ready to go. They are in registered status, which means that this is before the race has begun. Progress bar, same thing. And devices, which is where we will be able to monitor our phones. No phones yet, because I haven't registered any with the app code. So the first thing to do before we start the race is, of course, to set up our phones. So I have a phone here on my desk. You can't see it, but I'm going to create my first timing point by entering the app code into the mobile phone. That is now ready to go. So let's go to race day. So let's show you how to actually start the race. Now it is 1:50 in the afternoon. Let's imagine that we've just given the start of our race at 1:50. So I go in here. Now remember, it was at 9 o'clock before, so let's change that to 13:50. Save it. And as soon as you're ready to press it, click on go. And what that shows us is that the system has started the race at exactly 1:50. You can see that because the runtime is 33.4 seconds, which is the same as my clock time up here. If you need to reset the race, you can do that by pausing it. Let's say you want to reset it. Let's say we want to reset it to 1:51, so we'll wait till 1:51 actually begins. So just 8 more seconds. Whilst I do that, I'm going to change that to 8:51:00. Here we go. I'm going to save that. It's going to ask me to reset it. It's reset. No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted 13:51:00. Here we go. Let's reset that. So that is now reset to 13:51. It's now 24 seconds past. I'm going to start it again. And here we go. It has now started the time. We can see in the times tab that we now have a bunch of entries that have started. All right, so what I've got 3 pods here on my desk. I've turned on my half split timing point. So what you're going to see come through the system here very soon is 3 times. That's what we expect to see. Let's go through to leaderboard. So we now have a leaderboard with a ranking 1, 2, 3, based on time, of course. In results, we have nothing yet because no one's been through the finish point. So what I'm going to do now is enter my app code from my finish line into my timing point. And we're going to run the same 3 pods through that, and we're going to see what that looks like on the race day dashboard. So CD02, again, you can't see me doing this, but I am currently setting up my timing point on my phone. Let's go back to race day dashboard. Let's go back to times. And I've now passed some times through the finish line. We're going to see them pop up here on our times tab. Here we go. We can now go to the leaderboard. We can see that these 3 same entries are finished. Now remember, I'm only using 3 pods out of the 10, and we have some overall finished results for these 3 entries. When I go to entries, I can now see that these 3 have finished status, and these guys are still in the race. Let's have a look at the progress tab. So progress shows us that 3 have passed finish, and 7 still expected to pass the finish line. When I go into devices, now devices shows me my mobile phone, which shows that we have the timing point, which is finished. Timing code is showing scanning status off because I've turned this off. And we can also geolocate our timing point. You can zoom in, and that shows you the actual location of the timing point, which is very, very handy. So that is it. I've now given you a brief introduction and overview of how the Atlas console works. Thank you very much.